Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Old Time Rock and Roll. I'm your host, David Tear, where I've been featuring my personal top 3,000 songs of the rock era from 1954 to 1999. Today's song might surprise some of you. It's Little Old Man, Everything Is All Right by Bill Cosby. This came out in 1967. It went to number four, believe it or not. And it has almost exactly the same tune. It really does have the tune was borrowed from Uptight by Stevie Wonder, which was a hit just a couple of years earlier. That is coming up much later on my list. That's a classic Motown hit. And I guess Bill Cosby reworked it into this kind of comedy song. It's a strange song. I'll get to it later, but first I want to talk about Bill Cosby. And I know he's not very popular today because of all the sexual allegations against him. Turned out to be a pretty rotten person, I guess. But I mean, it's really unfortunate because I think he was a really amazing comedian. He's had an amazing career, and he start. Here's a picture of him early on. I think this picture's from 1969, but he's got to start early. He was born in Philadelphia in 1937, and by 1961, he was doing stand-up comedy at this in New York City. This was the Gaslight Theater in New York City, and he was very popular there. And by 1963, he appeared on The Tonight Show. I think that's Jack Paar. I'm not sure, but this was before Johnny Carson. He was on The Tonight Show in 1963, and that was kind of his TV debut. And then he started coming up with all these comedy records. He had, I guess, it was his first comedy record. It was called Bill Cosby is a Very Funny Fellow. And he had several others. I think the song I'm featuring today was featured on one of them, although I'm not sure which one. 1968, he had a comedy album called um, "To Wrestle My Brother Whom I Slept With." Kind of a funny title. This came out in '68. And then he started having his own TV show. '69, he had the Bill Cosby Show, which was a very popular variety show that ran for a couple of years. And '72, he had the New Bill's Cosby Show. This ran one more season. And then from '72 to '85, he had a very popular animated TV series. I guess it was a kids' TV series. I watched this for about a year. Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids. This was on from 1972 to 1985. I thought it was very funny, and he did the voices for I think all these characters. It was supposed to be like seven or eight kids, and I guess Fat Albert. I don't know who he was, maybe their uncle or something. I don't remember, but he was a big fat guy. And I think Bill Cosby did the voices. I'm not sure if he did it for all these kids, but most of them. And I thought it was very funny and very good and very entertaining. And he usually had a pretty good moral lesson for kids. So I thought it was a good show. I was very entertained by this show. I mean, I really liked Bill Cosby when I was a kid. And I even saw him do stand up comedy live. I think it was around 73, 74. I thought he was hilarious. He did his, he did a great routine of going to the dentist. He'd talk with his mouth full of Novocaine. I thought he was hilarious. And I think most Americans did think he was a really amazing comedian. And of course, in the '80s, he was on a very popular TV show called The Cosby Show, where he played a father of some teenagers, I guess. I didn't really watch this show that much, but this was a very popular show, and this ran from 1984 to 1992. And unfortunately, by I think around 2005, that's when sexual allegations started turning up against him, and it turns out, at least according to the women who were alleging sexual abuse, that he'd been sexually abusing women since the '60s, since 1965, and I'm pretty sure he did. I mean, I don't think there'd be all these sexual allegations against him if it wasn't true, and it pretty much ruined his career once that came out into the open, and I was pretty upset when I learned about these allegations because, like I said, I did really like him. I think he was an amazing comedian, and I guess that's pretty much all I have to say about Bill Cosby, but I'm gonna talk a little bit about this song. I never understood what it meant, by the way. He tells a story. I mean, it's played to the tune of Uptight, like I said, by Stevie Wonder. But he tells three verses of this strange story where he's talking about he's wandering through the park. He runs into this little old man, and there's three verses. In the first verse, the little old man, he's very unhappy. He tells, I guess, Bill Cosby that he'd been run over by a train. And Bill Cosby asks him about it. He said, "Well, why do you just stay out here?" Well, I just can't believe that it happened. And then he goes the next day, and then the same little old man's there said, "I just got run over by a herd of elephants." He says that this happens to him every day. First, he says that about the train. He says, "Every day about this time, I get run over by a train." And then he says the same thing about the elephants. The elephants stampede over him, I guess, a half an hour before the train arrives. And the kid keeps asking him, "Well, why do you just stay out here if that's happening all the time?" He says, "Well, I just can't believe that it happened." And then the third day he comes back and he sees the old man again. He said, "How you doing?" After being run over by the train. Then the old man just denies the whole story. He said, "What train?" He said, "The train that runs over you after you get stampeded by the elephants." He said, "What elephants?" And then Bill Cosby's obviously very confused because he's contradicting himself, and he just says, "Hmm." And then the old man says, you're a young man. You've still got a lot to learn." So I don't know what this song means. My best guess is that the old man, he's supposed to be a wise old man trying to teach Bill Cosby some good wisdom by telling him these white lie stories. And the only thing it kind of reminds me, the only reason I think this is because it reminds me of an episode I saw of Star Trek: The Next Generation. I love that show, by the way. And there was an episode with Whoopi Goldberg. She was supposed to be Guinan, this wise old woman on the Enterprise. And there's an episode where she tells this white lie to Dr. Crusher, who's the doctor on the ship. And I guess the doctor got in a lot of trouble because she performed an autopsy on a murder victim, and the family wouldn't allow it, and she didn't find any conclusive evidence from it, so they took away her medical license and wouldn't let her perform any more medicine on the Enterprise. So Guinan knew all this was going on. So then, Dr. Crusher has to tell her the whole story of how she got involved in this big murder case, and she didn't figure out who the murderer was. But the whole point of it was that she still wanted, even though, Dr. Crusher was really upset that she got fired. Guinan was trying to convince her, well, you've told me there's a loose murderer on the loose. Aren't you gonna go after him? And so then Dr. Crusher decides she better do that, the hell with her career. So eventually she does find the murderer, and she solves the case, and she gets her doctor's license back. And then, out of gratitude, she goes back to Guinan, and she tries to, because Guinan made up the story that she injured her arm playing tennis, and so Dr. Crusher thought the least she could do is give her a really good tennis racket that would be better for her. And then at the very end of the show, Guinan says to her, "Well, I'm sure it's a really good racket, but I've never played tennis." So obviously the whole thing was a lie just to get Dr. Crusher to do the right thing. And I think in the same way, I'm not sure. Maybe you guys can fill me in on this, but I think the whole point of the song Little Old Man is that the old man was telling Bill Cosby these stories, these to try to get him to think about what really matters in life. Like if bad things happen to you, we all bad things happen to all of us. And I guess getting run over by the train and the herd of elephants is just kind of a apocryphal story that bad things are going to always happen to us, but we can't let them get us down. We can't just keep, brooding over them. We got to get on with our lives. I think that's the lesson he's trying to teach Bill Cosby. But if I'm wrong, please tell me. Maybe you guys have your own interpretation on this song. Anyway, that's my profile on Little Old Man, Uptight, Everything's All Right by Bill Cosby. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye.